All right, so today we're going to talk about something that affects every single one of us, education. We're going to dive into a revolutionary idea from the philosopher Satish Kumar, who basically challenges us to rethink, well, everything we thought we knew about learning. It all starts with a really simple but powerful idea.
Let me just start by posing this question to you. What if the entire foundation of our education system, the very metaphor we use for it, is completely and utterly broken? It's a pretty provocative question, and it forces you to look at learning in a totally new way.
At the very heart of his argument are these two totally opposite ideas. On one hand, you've got the student as an empty basket, just waiting for someone to fill it up. And on the other hand, you have the student as a living seed, just waiting for the right environment to grow. That one little difference, well, it changes the whole game.
So let's dig into that first one, right? The metaphor that Kumar argues has led our entire system astray. This is the idea that students are basically just empty vessels, waiting for us to pour knowledge into them.
I mean, think about it for a second. This is how so much of our schooling works, isn't it? Lectures, tests, memorization. The whole goal becomes about stuffing a student's head with as many facts and figures as humanly possible, as if learning is just about filling up an empty container.
So what's the alternative? This is where things get really interesting. Kumar asks us to imagine something completely different, a metaphor that he says is way more powerful and a lot more true, the student as a seed.
And what's really wild is that the history of the word education itself totally backs this up. It actually comes from the Latin word educare, and that doesn't mean to put in. No, it means to lead out, to draw out all the potential that's already there inside. Kumar has this brilliant analogy. Think about a tiny, bitter little apple seed. If you crack it open, there's nothing much inside. But you give that seed the right conditions, some good soil, water, sunshine, and it can grow into this magnificent tree that produces thousands and thousands of apples. He argues that every single one of us is like that seed, born with this vast, unique potential just waiting to come out.
Well, that reframes the entire purpose of school, doesn't it? It's not just about passing a test or getting a degree so you can get a job. It becomes this lifelong adventure of discovery, of finding out who you really are and what you're truly capable of. So, if that's the real goal, you have to ask yourself, where did our current system go so wrong? Well, Kumar points a finger directly at its incredibly narrow focus, what he calls the flaw of the 3 R's. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, of course, these skills are important. Nobody's denying that. But here's the problem. They pretty much only engage one part of our being, our head, our intellect. The rest of who we are, our hearts, our hands, our creativity, is often just ignored, like it doesn't even matter. And this narrow focus, it has some pretty serious real-world consequences. Kumar points to a newspaper report that found that 15% of university graduates in the UK don't even know how to boil an egg. 15%. We're producing generations of people who are super skilled on paper, but have been practically de-skilled in the real world. He says we need a pretty radical shift. We have to replace the limited 3 R's with a framework that's way more holistic and complete. He calls it the 3 H's. And this framework is all about educating the whole person. You've got the head, sure, for intellect and reading and writing, but then you bring in the heart for our relationships, for empathy, for our feelings. And you bring in the hands for practical skills, for making things, for creating. It's an education for your whole being. To explain the importance of the heart, Kumar brings up this fantastic quote from the philosopher Gregory Bateson. See, we don't just exist inside our own heads, we live in this complex web of relationships. And if our education doesn't teach us compassion or how to navigate those connections, then it's failed us in a really fundamental way. And for the hands, this quote says it all. Our hands are these incredible, magical tools for creativity. The point of education should be to help us realize that we are all artists, and the greatest art we can possibly create is the art of living a full, creative, and meaningful life.
This kind of holistic education, it can't just happen inside a building. Kumar argues that it demands we engage with the greatest teacher of all, a teacher that is almost completely ignored by our modern system, nature itself.
Kumar asks us to just stop and observe an apple tree for a minute. It gives its fruit to everyone and everything, no conditions, no discrimination. It gives to the rich and the poor, the saint and the sinner, humans and birds, and it asks for absolutely nothing back. If you want to learn about true generosity and unconditional love, there is no better teacher than that tree. He tells this great story about his mother, who used to say that nature was an even greater teacher than the Buddha, And you might think, wow, that's a bold claim. But her reasoning was simple. Where did the Buddha himself find enlightenment? He found it while sitting under a tree, learning directly from the world around him. You know, real wisdom comes from experience, not just from books.
And all of this, it all builds to Kumar's most direct and maybe his most provocative challenge to our entire idea of what it means to be well-educated.
Here's the paradox, and it's a tough one to swallow. The climate crisis, economic collapses, wars, these things are not caused by uneducated people. They are very often engineered by graduates from the world's most famous, most prestigious universities.
And he doesn't pull any punches. He points out that the leaders who took their countries into the devastating Iraq War were products of Oxford and Yale. They had the education of the head, for sure, but maybe, just maybe, not so much an education of the heart or the hands.
So this leads to a massive shift in what we should even want from our education. It should be about empowering us, not making us dependent. It should equip us to be self-reliant creators who can build our own meaningful work, not just be another applicant waiting for someone else to give us a purpose.
And that leaves us with this final, vital question to really chew on. It forces us to confront the true cost of our incomplete education. What good is brilliance without wisdom? What good is knowledge if it's not connected to compassion? What's the point?
Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content we make, press like and subscribe to our channel.